All right, we are back. Dynasty Trades in 5. I'm Clay.
Dun, 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 dun.
I'm Scott. My Achilles heel is always trying to find new transitions for each one of these episodes. So we got a good one tonight.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun, dun.
you totally crushed the transition tonight. Yeah, so we're going with Cam Akers. He came requested. Obviously, he was a sexy name before the season. Super sad seeing him going down. The year before, he had like a couple games. I think it was week 14 against New England where he ran it like 29 times for 171 was the stat line. Immediately was the best dynasty running back in fantasy football, right?
Of course.
We anointed him very quickly, but
I'm sorry.
enough of
Wait.
me. Not
Wait.
you, apparently.
Yeah, not I.
Okay, well, you start then, Shane.
Yeah, no, I was never as high on Cam Akers as everyone else. I know everybody else was just like swallowing his flute after the three games that he was like really special. And look, he looked really good in 3 games, but we've seen lots of players look really good in 3 games. To me, he was still the 4th or 5th best back out of that class, right? Now on a good offense and with volume, that's fine. I had a feeling, and it doesn't matter now, that Darrell Henderson was going to cut into that anyway. Doesn't matter now, though, to be quite honest with you. Darrell Henderson actually should probably make you feel good about Cam Akers, right? Considering what Darrell Henderson did in that offense when he could actually stay on the field this year. Cam Akers should be able to at least match those totals, that output next year if he's actually on the field.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Cam Akers is that we're so far into his injury now at this point that the value discussion is going to be a little bit different than the player profile discussion or the actual like player talent discussion, because I don't think we can really assess that based on what we saw last year, what we saw coming out of college, because he has a torn Achilles. You don't know what it's going to look like, but I think we have enough data to say he's going to get back. I mean, it sounds like he's going to be back before next year, if not try to play in the playoffs. That'll be something that's interesting that could change, his dynasty outlook in the next 3 or 4 months if he plays in the playoffs and even just contributes. 5 touches. You know how dynasty people are. If he just makes a couple plays in the postseason, it's going to be like, oh, he's perfect. He's good to go. No limitations. So that could be a big thing to look for. But his value's slowly risen. I was a big proponent of selling for any first round pick when he got hurt, just simply because you kind of knew where his value was going to go. It was going to drop. No one was going to want him. Then it was going to slowly rise. Maybe he comes back healthy, but I have a hard time thinking that he comes back to the workload that he had at the end of his first year. It's just not going to happen. The team is going to hide behind, well, he's still coming back. Needs to get back in shape. You know what I mean? We're not sure. So he's going to essentially, from a full bore dynasty standpoint, lose a lot of his third year, in my opinion, as well. If his value's back up to a first plus, though, I'm tempted to just kind of just bet against not only injury, but just if he's not a top 8 or better running back, I'm kind of buying this RB2 production that we've talked about so many times.
Yep. So I checked out a couple of rankings, and he does kind of, I guess, live in that back end RB2 range. Some names around him. Who would you take, him or AJ Dillon?
Man,
Dillon.
I love AJ Dillon's setup going forward. It's hard. Yeah, Dillon.
What about him or Akers or J-Rob?
Man,
That's
I
a
should
tough
say
one.
I should say J-Rob, but I think
I go Akers just based
I
on the
like
fact that he doesn't have a first round running back that's going to be in his backfield.
Yeah. And I do like the mystery box aspect of Akers.
Would you rather have Cam Akers or Miles Sanders and a mid 22 second?
I'll take the Sanders in the second, but the only reason is because of the second. If the second was on the Akers side, I would take
The
Akers
only
side.
time you care about a second rounder is
Because
when Miles Sanders is involved.
I mean, basically, they're the same to me at this point. Like, Sanders is I guess, healthier because he didn't lose a full year, but we know he's injury prone and we know he's explosive when he actually plays.
If he's not ever going to crack like the top 8 running backs, I really don't want to buy anybody that has like upward momentum. I'd rather look for the guys that are falling backwards. Like I'd rather buy the Miles Sanders at 50% of the price versus pay for the one everyone's going to be excited for. That's my only worry with Akers. I think he's going to be really hard to buy once you get to like June. Because everyone's going to want him. They're going to see something that they're going to want him back again.
Yeah, if you didn't already trade for him, I mean, you missed the boat. I mean, you shouldn't be trading for a guy at the end of his injury when we're heading into the offseason when all the stories coming out of camp are going to be positive. There's not going to be one bad story about Cam Akers. It's all going to be he looks more explosive than he's ever. I think this injury made him faster somehow, and he can also jump higher. And, so if you didn't
Akers
already,
or Dobbins?
Dobbins.
I'm kind of reversing tune on that one a little bit. I actually think the more I've read about the Dobbins injury, that it might be worse. This may be an ACL injury that pushes him into the summer, and it's not one. I'm definitely taking the stance that Dobbins is going to be limited next year. He's a 50% at most workload, and that's I think I'd almost rather have Akers. I don't know. That's a good debate though.
Scott, you did say before you would trade him for any first. Would you still trade him for any first?
No, but that's only because I think the equity of the first throughout the entire season where it's open-ended and I can spend it over a 5-month period whenever I have the best offer for it, that's worth something. Like, it's a fair deal, but the reason I wanted to get out for a first the second he went down was not because I don't think he's worth a first. It's because the first is a liquid asset that I have 5 months to spend. It's going to be a lot easier for me to spend with that first than it is Cam Akers. So I think at this point, like Shane said, I've waited 5 months. I don't really want to make Akers transactions right now unless I'm buying cheap.
Okay. So are you selling if you're going to get the 107?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you selling if you're going to get the 111?
Yes.
It's close.
Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. These were your 111s, Scott.
Rondale Moore,
These
Terrace
were
Marshall.
111s. No. Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith.
There were quarterbacks that were good last year, Shane. That's my only worry.
Well, yeah.